Hello everyone, this is Dr. Amir Abbas, and today we have a very special guest with us. And before I go into the details of who our guest is, I'm pretty sure that you are faced, if you're a medical writer, if you're a medical researcher in the current time, you may have faced the dilemma that whether to use AI tools like ChatGPT into different uh, and in different ways in your medical writing or not. This is a dilemma which all of us face these days. And in order to conduct a discussion around this topic, we have called Dr. Irfan. And it's an honor because Dr. Irfan is a professor of psychiatry. And he's among very few people in Pakistan who has very diverse background because he, apart from being a psychiatrist, he's a PhD in mental health policy. And apart from, he's the professor and head of the Department of Mental Health Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Peshawar Medical College. His impact extends beyond academia as he also serves as the Director of Research and Chair of the Institutional Review Board of Prime Foundation Pakistan. Dr. Irfan is the President of the Pakistan Association of Medical Editors and a former council member of the Committee on Publication Ethics. On the global stage, he is the President-elect of the World Association of Cultural Psychiatry and Director of Research and Innovation at the Asian Cognitive Behavioral Therapists Association. And the reason why we have called Dr. Irfan today is extensive experience in different editorial roles that include being the chief editor of the Journal of Postgraduate Medical Institute, associate editor of the Journal of Pakistan Psychiatric Society, advisory board member of the Asian Journal of Psychiatry and Pakistan Journals Physiology. He's also a founding member of the Institutional Review and Ethics Board of Postgraduate Medical Institute, Peshawar, Pakistan. With all this background, and I think we need a separate podcast to ask Dr. Irfan how he does all of these things. But first of all, Dr. Irfan, welcome to this program. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Amir, for having me here. It's a privilege to be with you and discuss some very pertinent and important aspects of medical writing and research in the current circumstances.
Okay, so let's get directly into the topic. So, Dr. Irfan, what is ChatGPT and what is all this chatter about? Can you tell us something about that?
So I will not restrict myself to one software, that is ChatGPT, but I'll broaden myself and think about two paradigms. One is the use of softwares that act as responders, and these softwares are chatbots in their essence, and they give you responses in various ways, and you move along the lines how they respond. The other aspect is what we call generative AI. And generative AI is not response dependent. There are various softwares that are a part and parcel of various plugins, and they generate things on their own as well. However, these two intersect and overlap each other as well. But we need to understand these two concepts, that we need to understand what is a chatbot and how the generative AI works. And then we need to understand this in the context of research in two domains broadly. There can be a lot of domains, but two broadly discussed domains. One is a pre-research aspect. And the pre-research aspect is the aspect where we think how these chatbots or generative AI help us in formulating a research plan. This may be in terms of searching literature. These may be in formulating questions. These may be in finalizing the shape of the overall research project. So all this is first aspect. The second, to me, is the end aspect. You do the research, and now you're in the phase to write this research for a good journal, for a high impact factor journal, and you need to understand what needs to be done to get that things going. These are the two various aspects. However, in between, with paid softwares, with softwares that you have licensed from various organizations, then there is an in between as well, where you get various analysis, various aspects of data interpretation used by these softwares, and this can be implicated in various research aspects. So this is the overall gist of what I think we encounter in medical writing and publication.
Right. So I think I like the way you put it forward, because now it's easier for me to discuss it further as well. So talking about pre-research first, right? And in the pre-research, obviously, like you're doing your you're formulating your research proposal, you're making your questionnaire, and then you're putting an ethical review application, and there is a lot of other things. You're making a budget and stuff like that. Uh, and there are obvious places. For example, I think if I ask ChatGPT to help me make a questionnaire, uh, that may be okay ethically, but at the same time, there are some gray areas as well. For example, if I'm writing a proposal, and within the proposal, if I ask the ChatGPT to write me the introduction section, uh, or if I'm putting a grant application to national NIH or any other funding body, and I write my application with the help of ChatGPT, where do you draw the line from an ethical perspective, that what may be acceptable and what may not be acceptable?
So it will vary case to case. So there is no black and white answer to that. However, when it comes to help, as the word that you used, when it comes to help, it's quite allowed. However, when it comes to do things from a perspective where human aspect is minused or minimized, then there is a big question mark. Now, as you said, you have generated an idea, you are planning on something, but you do not understand how to go about it. To be very honest, this was done before as well with other search engines as well. You put a question and there would be answers, and you need to go through those answers to get the exact amount of response that you wanted. The chat GPT or the chatbots or the generative AI has made it easier for you to summarize all that in one frame and give you the answer on its own. Now, you used to do that with a bit struggle, but you used to do that before as well. So doing the same is always allowed, to my understanding. However, when you say that uh, I want to conduct a research, this is my hypothesis, generate me results. Now, that is
Hmm.
not acceptable, because you are asking something that is not there, but you want it to do on a hypothetical level and present it like it is real. Now, that is, of course, non-ethical.
Right. So you're saying, again, there are two extremes. On one end, there are obvious things. For example, I think if I take help from ChatGPT in helping me refine my questionnaire, or making the structure of my introduction, right? And as you rightly said, that even before ChatGPT, if I have to write any, say I'm writing a proposal on depression, I may be going through some other review article on depression and get some idea, okay, what should be the structure of that. The only difference between that and ChatGPT is that exactly how it does it quickly. But I think so. Do you think that the people who evaluate your work, for example, let's take NIH, they're asking for public I mean, we have to submit some grant applications. Do you think they should be explicit about it, or at this stage are they explicit about or not, that okay, to whether you can use ChatGPT or other AI tools, and if you use it or not use it, you have to declare that?
Again, it comes to the very basic principles that we already have even before the chatbots and generative AI, and that is the principle of plagiarism. And various organizations have limited the percentage of uh, the index that we used to consider as similarity index in terms of plagiarism. However, on the same note, if that similarity index somewhat comes more in methodology and results, even if that accepted point is not valid anymore. However, when it is in discussion or introduction or on that level, then there is a level. If you go
Mhm.
beyond that level, it is not accepted. Now, now when you are submitting this, I'm sure everyone is now aware that there are softwares which detect all this, right? So if you're using such softwares like ChatGPT, etc. So, for example, ChatGPT, very simple and very open to everyone. There is a Zero GPT, which assesses how much the content has been derived from ChatGPT. There are other software as well, which not only detect ChatGPT, but other generative AI tools as well. So one. Second, all of these things will go through the process of plagiarism check. And now both Turnitin and I'm naming Turnitin and the other softwares because they have now incorporated ChatGPT check in their plagiarism check as well. So they'll be going through that. Coming to that, there is one small aspect, and that is most of the time when we apply for grants to NIH or other bodies, what we are doing is we are proposing an idea, right? And the grant is being decided by the novelty of the idea and not exactly on the basis of how well formulated the thing is. Of course, everything matters, but if the idea is not novel and you formulate it very well, even that is not going to work. However, if the idea is novel, the formulation is good, so it will increase the chances. So this is what I feel that we need to consider, that there are now limitations to everything, and if we use indiscriminately any chatbot or generative AI, we are going to end up in some problem in grant, in paper writing, in everything. Because as a chief editor, as someone who is associated with all this, I tell you, I assure you, all good journals now are very well aware. And lately, there is one special publication that has been published in more than 100 journals simultaneously, with the title World Association of Medical Editors Recommendation on Chatbots and Generative Artificial Intelligence in relation to scholarly publication. That has been chaired by, or the first writer is Chris Zielinski, who's the Vice President of World Association of Medical Editors. And this includes a good number of authors who are from the very prestigious journals. This was a different sort of publication, simultaneously published by more than 100 journals, including the journal that I work as a chief editor. And this gives you explicit view on what can be done and what can't be. So everyone is now aware, naivety is no more an answer. Even that was not before, but we need to educate everyone that please try to take help, but do not get dependent on ChatGPT or related softwares.
Yeah, sorry. So now switching gears and coming to the writing aspect of it, assuming that you did your research, you did the analysis, and now writing a paper. So, and I will start with the paper because that is where we that may be a good point to start with. Initially, as of before talking to you, I was of the impression that the leadership of medical editors is not having a clear idea. But you think that with this paper coming up, you think that they have outlined very clear instructions. So can you give us some idea about, or if you remember from the top of your mind, and we will also ask from you that paper, and we will put that into the description of this video. But are there any things which you can talk about that, okay, what are the guidelines which individuals may be keeping in mind in terms of things to do or not to do while writing papers?
Right. First of all, as I'm associated with World Association of Medical Editors as well, so the first recommendation came earlier this year, that is January 20th, 2023, and they talked about the same in a concise way. But then, with the proliferation of chatbots and their expanding use in scholarly publishing, in these few months, they have come up again with a more robust definition of various things. And as I said, as the name indicates, it is basically for everyone, for the very beginner who needs to understand what chatbot will be and how chatbot and their applications illustrate the powerful possibilities of generative AI. So this is the basis of their recommendation that they have recommended, basically. So They have added few recommendations, and with this there are four original principal recommendations actually. One, and as I was discussing it earlier, um, the first recommendation is that ChatGPT or any similar software, despite its efficient use and help, cannot be an author. Only humans can be authors.
Okay.
Number two, authors should acknowledge the sources of their materials. Number three, authors must take public responsibility of their work. And number four, editors and reviewers should specify to authors and each other any use of chatbots in evaluation of the manuscript and generation of reviews and correspondence. And at the end, on top of it, when all this is done, editors need appropriate digital tools to deal with the effects of chatbot on publishing. So it has given the guideline for authors, for reviewers, as well as for editors. So this is somewhat the gist of it. There is a lot in that, and it has further divided into recommendation 1, recommendation 2, 2.1, 2.2, 3. So it's a lot. One has to read this, and I'll give you the link. But I just think that there is a lot for people to understand and get through the concept and the ethical use of these chatbots and generative AI.
So let's get a bit backward and let's assume, okay, now again, I like to think about in extremes, right? So on one extreme, there is a person who think, okay, I'm not going to touch it, right? I mean, later there are people who even stigmatize the use of it. I've seen people when you talk about it, they frown towards you. But on the other extreme, people are there, okay, they will generate the whole of the content with ChatGPT. I mean, obviously these extremes are not right. But do you agree that at this point in time, if I'm not using ChatGPT, it's just like just like a calculator. When calculator was not there, I see just it as a calculator. If I'm not using it, and people who are using it, they're becoming more efficient in its use. So how do you speak to that?
So I believe you are absolutely right when you talk about this, because what you are saying is that this is now the need of the day. And those who don't agree, they are living in a fallacy. Now, we cannot be getting shy away from the use of this, and we need to incorporate this in our practice. The the question always remains whether the practice is ethical or not, and that is the basic crux. Saying no to it at any level makes no sense at all. It's not something that we should consider that cannot be used. If that was the case, as I said, this could have been the case with all the search engines that we used to use. So if we use those search engines, I mean, before our generation, technically people would go to the libraries and look at the reference books, and everything was based on that. So they might be saying to us, oh, you're just asking this search engine to find out these things, and they find out, and you are so lucky, you just go through this, and again you give, even in that PDF you give command of find, and they find the exact things for you. And so ChatGPT technically made it easier, right? If you want to utilize things in a good way, it will help. However, potential of abuse is always there, and potential of abuse was there in other aspects due to other things as well. So there is always this, as you announced my previous affiliation with Committee on Publication Ethics, which is the main body of publication ethics around the globe. We always used to say that, I mean, even at that time, there was no chat GPT or chatbots involved, but we used to say that people will come up with ways to cheat and will do things that are non-ethical. So if you say that ChatGPT will do the same for some people, I would say most of those who are doing this in ChatGPT were already doing that in non-ChatGPT era as well. So if that is the case, then I mean, we can stop everything and go back to the age where we have to go to the reference books in the libraries and just sit there and just do the search on our own, and we at the end we'll just say, hooray, we did it everything on our own. But that's not the answer. We are at this age looking at a generation that is growing with honestly, because my other background is psychiatry, so I'm having the liberty to say that with a limited time span of attention, and they need something very quick and something that is easily accessible and palatable. So if we are not going to provide them this opportunity, they are going to just disregard of this aspect of research and publication and scholarly work. We don't want that. We want them to encourage, but we want them to tell what to do and what not to in most appropriate professional way. That is what we need to do, and that is the way forward for my understanding.
Right. So I think I'm still a bit confused, and I just want to make it a bit clear by asking you about a few situations, and there will be very specific situations. For example, let's say I'm writing I'm doing some, for example, the introduction section of uh, the paper, right? And I asked ChatGPT, I'm writing a paper on prevalence of depression in Pakistan and want to write an introduction section of that. Give me an outline of this. Do you think that this will be ethical or unethical in terms of using that?
So this, I'm going specific to your question, and that is you are writing a sort of a review, right? Because when you are asking, you're saying that is an introduction, but technically it's a review,
Okay.
right? So when you're talking about writing something which you are reviewing in a overall picture, this means what you are doing is either going in a hierarchical way, in a way, how did that start, then what happened, or you're going in a heading way, this and this are main headings, and we go according to that. If I remove the chat GPT from the context and I say you get three good reference papers which describe that, and you took 2 years to find those three relevant papers, and from once you found those, you did exactly the same thing which chat GPT is telling you. You got the outline, and you use that. So to my understanding, again, it is subjective to call it for everything, but to my understanding, when you say that I am drawing an outline based on chat GPT and you follow it blindly, probably you're not doing the right thing. You have to ask chat GPT. Even if the chat GPT says this is the outline, I have used various aspects of chat GPT or chatbots. I never follow that blindly, because it is not certain that the outline that the ChatGPT provides is accurate cent by cent. It may give you the idea, and that is what you get from other review articles, the other articles that are more precise and to the point. So if the answers that you can get from ChatGPT and the answers that you got from other three review articles are the same, the only amount of difference is time, then why not ChatGPT?
Right.
Or
So,
for that matter, chatbot.
so if I summarize what you said, it's a combination of human intelligence with artificial intelligence that is going to bring the gold out of it,
Absolutely.
right? So the second situation is that, okay, I did all the research on my own in the pre-chat GPT era, as I used to say. I will say, okay, and then but I made a very rough draft, which will be kind of like having everything which should be there, but it is not well phrased. Maybe there are some spelling errors and there is a comma. I mean, there's not very well English edited. I just paste that introduction section into ChatGPT and tell it that make it more academic, make it proofreaded, and do blah 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 with it. What do you think about this aspect? Because I'm very much interested in this point.
Right. So it's not difficult at all. This is a very straightforward question, because even in pre-chat GPT eras, there are programs that are acknowledged internationally. One of this program is called Author Aid, and then there are other programs which have been facilitated by big um, publishing bodies like Elsewhere and others, where they promote your taking guidance from their services, author help services. So if you can take an author help service that is generated by a human, why can't you take an author help service that is generated by a chatbot?
Right.
So, if I mean, you see, and I'm not saying this in any negative terms, but there are countries which want to publish in English, but their native language and their expertise in English have a big clash. So they are unable to do that. So those countries have been doing this for quite long, that their write-up is not written by them.
Right.
This is
Okay.
an open secret. I'm not naming the countries, but this
Yeah.
is an open secret. So this means you are taking help from services that author it for you. If you're
Mm.
taking this help from other services, maybe a human, maybe other author aid aspects, why not do that from this chatbot? That's again, and as I said, there is no black and white answer, but in general, if someone follows ethics in general, there is no ethical problem in it. You're just asking that this is what I've written, but there is a big gap between my English and the English that this journal wants, and I want you to bridge that gap. I think most of the time it should be considered.
Maybe, and a follow-up question would that be, okay, so I think I'm assuming based on our discussion, if I do it, I will have to declare it that, okay, I use this step, that's an obvious thing. But my question over here is that, will that content be detected by AI detectors as a AI content or as an original content?
Right, and that's again very tricky,
Hmm.
because in general, if you exactly follow what has been provided by these chatbots, this is totally detectable. However, when you combine human intelligence with the artificial intelligence, then it's a tricky thing. Very efficient tools, paid tools will detect that as well, that this part of that mixed content is AI and the other part is not. But then again, most people don't go for those paid softwares and high-end gadgets. So I would say detectable, yes, but whether we are ashamed of that detectability or not, that is the question. If we think that what we did was within ethical norms and limits, then there's no problem whether it gets detected or not. However, no one would want that the ethical the detection would say that, okay, 70% is detected from the artificial intelligence content, so no one would want that.
Right.
So if it says, say 5% is there, but 95% of this manuscript, which is 10 pages, is AI guided, I as an editor won't mind that. However, there's one area where I might mind, and that is if this shows that this is in the results section or the key methodology section, I
Hmm.
might mind it there.
Hmm.
I might not mind it in the intro or discussion.
Right. Okay. So one, again, follow-up question is that if there is a lot of confusion, do you think that we should write to the editor or the journal we are submitting, and is it that a good idea to get clarity from the journal
So,
team?
as far as the recommendation is concerned, if you yourself think that there's a lot that has been coming from those tools,
Hmm.
so you should
Hmm.
declare in the covering letter that yes, we have taken in terms of grammar, we have taken in terms of a generation of specific code. I mean, whatever you feel likely. So you can say that in the covering letter. And if the editor would be interested to know more details, then you are again bound to give those details. However, I would not say that you would say that line 4 of page number 3 was taken from AI. I mean, that would be too much to go for.
Okay. Right. Okay. And the next, it's a very interesting one. For example, I made a table, and that's a publication ready table, and I have to write the results of that. And what I do is that I paste the table into chatbot, and I tell him that write results section for me. What do you think about that?
Right, right. If that is after you give the results, actual results, and you just want this results in the numbers to be in the words, again, that comes in the same category that we have already described. But if you just say that I've got 4 patients in one group and 6 patients in another group, one group has this, the other group has that, and generate results for me for the comparison of both groups, that won't be ethical.
Obviously, data cooking is not ethical, but do you think, okay, it comes
Absolutely.
into that category where you're taking help from maybe a medical
Absolutely.
writer
But
or, yeah,
what you said, I mean, was like you gave the table
yeah,
that
yeah,
you actually gave the exact data. This is different, and
yeah.
because this may mean, and I tell you, to be very honest, I'm pretty skeptical of blindly following these chatbots. I'm still telling you
Yeah,
that they are very good. I'm for using those, but I'm telling you that you cannot just blindly follow. So always be
double check,
sure
right?
that
You have to double
whatever
check.
is
Yeah.
churned out of this is being exactly checked, because this has happened with people that they have accepted all that blindly, and that has backfired.
Right. And another probably a use case for developers is just like EndNote. Maybe there will be a time where you have a product where you just say, okay, I want to submit it to this journal and that journal, and with one click, it's going to completely change your the format of the paper for you, not only
Referencing
the
style,
referencing,
absolutely,
have everything for you.
absolutely.
That's a
Yeah.
possibility. I think we had a
Yeah,
call. Yeah,
I mean the sky is the limit.
yeah,
And in AI, I would always say that even sky is not the limit. There
yeah.
is much beyond that, and you can think of so many possibilities in this context. So it's all evolving. I personally see a lot of potential. However, it's a, a matter of concern for us whether we close or shut our brains because we have this tool and we do not make use of our brain, or we are intelligent enough to utilize this tool in expanding the horizons of the brain work that we already have. If we do that, we are going to hit the sky. If we are not going to do that, we are going to dry down with everything. The ideas that our brain generate, the work that our brain formulates, will cease in future. So this is a very important aspect. And as I said, and I use the word, that when you get dependent on this thing, then probably your brain is not working at all, because you know that this will give me the answer. So now that's a big problem, because you will not have it in a discussion like this that we are having, or in a scholarly forum. So then there'll be
Mhm.
big problems.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, if you write a paper based on ChatGPT and then you're presenting in a conference or you're in a panel discussion, then you don't have the ChatGPT open in front of you to get answers into a real-time question which you get. Right. I think we've quite well structured our thoughts in terms of like we may not have got all the answers very specifically because there are still a lot of unknowns in here, and it's just will be a matter of time when more clarity comes in and more regulatory tools evolve. But I think we got kind of like a framework to think for ourselves. Dr. Irfan, anything which you want to say before we just call this discussion off, which you think we may have missed, and you think they're important in the context of this discussion?
So I think you were very efficient in maneuvering it, and I think this is what I think we should be covering. Just for the aspect of future line of actions, I would say that I would consider, as a healthcare professional, AI to be a big tool in the collaborative aspect, where it can support medical writers and healthcare professionals, fostering collaboration. And this will include open communication channels between all these aspects. And then this feedback can ensure the high quality of content. So this is something that I feel we should be thinking of. However, there are a lot of challenges, of course: transparency, biases, regulatory compliances, approaches in various aspects of research in terms of feedback and fairness, um, um, oversights and complexities. These all things directly come to my mind. Privacy concerns, standardization challenges. These are all things that come to my mind when I think about this. However, if there are challenges, they give us the opportunity to think about those challenges and overcome those challenges by thinking in broader light, and a bigger horizon is up there just to follow and overcome what the challenges at the moment are.
Right. And with that, I would just ask you one final question, and rather, this is an open-ended question for everyone as well. Is that okay? If I do something today, and maybe 2 3 years down the line, there is a a tool which is not able to detect my work today, but my paper is going to last forever in the virtual space, right? And maybe after 2 3 years, and some tool comes up, and my work is getting detected as at least in the gray area. Uh, I mean, I don't want to risk that. And I think the frameworks which you thought about that, okay, something is ethical versus unethical. For example, if I did the writing, I use ChatGPT as a writer. Did I actually communicate it with the journal or not? Because if they comes to me, I can just say to them that, okay, I just communicated it to that. This is what I did. You shouldn't have published it, right? So what is your take on that aspect of the thing? And I think we'll wind with that final.
You see,
comments.
again, I'll take it back to the comparison that I did in terms of plagiarism. And you may be aware that in institutions all over the globe, people have been reprimanded maybe 2 to 3 decades later of the work that did, which came under that plagiarism rule. So I would think that this can happen, this can lead to consequences, this can lead to litigations. So always the policy that I always teach in my publication ethics classes around the globe is honesty is the best policy. Declare everything that you feel might get you into trouble. So always declare and be honest.
Right. So with that, I think, Dr. Irfan, thanks a lot for giving us time. I understand that you're.
Thank you very much.